Of the latest in President Donald Trump's quest to reduce the size of the U.S. government.
Sources tell CBS News that hundreds of federal workers have received layoff notices, with more expected in the coming days and weeks. Bringing in CBS News correspondent Jared Hill live from New York for more details. Jared, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Lauren and Chris. And in fact, one of President Trump's top advisors has talked about not just getting rid of employees, but getting rid of entire federal government departments. That is something that will take an act of Congress. Still, Musk and Trump are continuing to look for ways to slash a federal workforce they see as unnecessary and unhelpful. This morning, hundreds of federal workers are out of a job, and thousands more are bracing for sweeping layoffs.
We have here rule of the bureaucracy as opposed to rule of the people.
Speaking virtually at a World Summit Thursday, Elon Musk, head of President Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, said entire federal departments should be deleted.
If you don't remove the roots of the weed, then it's easy for the weed to grow back.
The long-term scope isn't clear, but CBS News has learned recent federal hires still on probationary status across several departments have received termination notices. Same for about 1,000 workers at the Department of Veterans Affairs as of yesterday. Democrats protested outside the VA.
9 million veterans are watching you give them the middle finger. And we're not going to stand for it.
U.S. officials have also confirmed that DOJ employees are examining the IRS, though yesterday President Trump told reporters he doesn't plan to close the agency.
I think that the Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else.
On a jam-packed Thursday that included meetings with India's Prime Minister, the president also signed an executive order directing his administration to look at imposing tariffs to match those that other countries put on U.S. goods. Critics warn it could hurt efforts to fight inflation.
Prices could go up somewhat short-term, but prices will also go down.
The president argued those reciprocal tariffs would level the playing field for American workers. And new in overnight, a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to temporarily restore funding for hundreds of foreign aid contracts. The judge there focused on how wide-reaching and non-specific he said the president's executive order was in pausing those programs so that the White House could then review them. Back to you.
So, Jared, let's talk about those workers. Do they actually have any options here? Anything they can do to fight back against this?
So it depends on the type and the status of the worker, Chris. On one hand, for those folks who are on probation, essentially people who are newer hires, there are fewer protections for them. But then with some of the others, there are a set of rules and regulations when it comes to firing folks who work for the federal government, those civilian workforce members. And so there's the possibility that they could do some appeals, potentially even up through the legal courts system. But it might depend on the specific language that is included in some of these orders to terminate those positions. So we'll have to see. Back to you.
All right, CBS News' Jared Hill live from New York. Thank you so much for joining us, Jared.